Good evening, everyone. We'll call to order the special meeting, council meeting for November 29th, 2021. And we'll go with Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll have invocation by All-Lady McDowell. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord God, we thank you for blessing us to see another day. We ask you to come into our council chamber. Bless this council as we conduct the business of the city of Markham. In Jesus' name, amen.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Vera. Present. Alderman Lady Hampton Hauser. Present. Alderman Jones.
Present.
Alderman Lady McDowell. Present.
Okay.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll go right over to city attorney's report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, with respect to the city attorney's report, we go directly to 5A, insurance, the 2021-22 insurance renewal package.
Okay, thank you, attorney. As we discussed, you're yielding to me, so I can just kind of direct traffic a little bit for us to get through this evening's insurance renewal. I would defer some to the treasurer, and she could further defer out as needed to finance director and then to yes, this evening to explain our package.
So we would just like to introduce Hub International and Christina Fisher.
Good evening, Ms. Fisher. We're going to call on you to make any commentary before we have our guests here speak in reference to our commercial insurance proposal.
Please come forward.
Yeah, you can stand, come forward however you like to so we can hear you. Just however you would like to proceed, go right ahead.
Okay, so please have the opportunity to meet with the council members coming into this renewal year. The biggest concern was finances and getting some reduction in our risk premium. This is a very large portion of the city's budget is spent on just risk insurance. We did elect to change brokers this year. I will be bringing on Marcus and Walter with the details of the proposal, but in summary, we were able to get some savings this year to start, and we're hoping with bringing them on board and continue to make the changes that we need to make, that we'll be able to continue to bring those numbers down even more as we continue with this relationship. So to go into detail of what was presented in your proposal, I'll introduce both Marcus and Walter to give details of the proposal.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Yes. There's a motion to open the floor to, and a second to open the floor to our commercial insurance proposal. All in favor? Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, board. My name is Marcus Chapman. I'm the Vice President of Production over at Hub International. My colleague here, Walter Brunswick, and Walter is a senior executive in our account management team. Walter and I have worked collectively with the various divisions within our organization to provide to you our proposal for property and casualty insurance for the December 1, 2021 through December 1, 2022 policy renewal period for the city of Markham. Upon our initial engagement with the city, meeting with Treasurer Ms. Richardson as well as Ms. Fisher, we performed an examination of your insurance program to identify various areas of concern, as well as potential alternatives to the current program structure. Through that, we were able to also utilize our market intelligence that was gathered from the general marketplace of carriers as well as the wholesalers marketplace to just kind of identify some of the challenges and issues associated with municipalities in the county of Cook. A few of those things have been pointed out in your executive summary, which is on in the packet that was delivered to you previously. But after the conducting of that due diligence, we narrowed our focus to working with some premium carrier partners, Liberty Mutual in particular, in addition to comparing it to your existing program as previously noted. HUB is recommending a renewal to utilize Liberty Mutual for the property and primary casualty and the combination of these various wholesalers, Indian Harbor, Markham, and Kinsale, in order to maintain your existing tower for general liability, auto liability, and your towers for your public officials liability, law enforcement liability, and employment practices liability. Our marketing also yielded higher employees liability limits as well as lowering your retention. One of the things we want to point out, which is also presented in your executive summary, is your SIR on your policies had, like, if you will, if this is this number, if that is that number. And what we were able to do was to get your retentions to remain consistent, a savings of over $250,000 just in that aspect and of itself. On page 7 of the proposal that was presented to you guys, we found a comparison of the premium between your expiring program and the renewal of what we are recommending. The bottom line premium, as you can see, there is a reduction there of approximately 15%, less than your expiring. And you know, what we're going to do as we continue to move forward is work collectively to address your total cost of risk. As you may know already, that there are challenges that may be presented on your employee benefits side that impacts what happens on your workers' compensation side. And HUB would like to be able to take a look at that holistically as well. Pass it to Walter for a quick moment if there's any questions, because we can get into the deeper dive details that you may have. And that's why I have Walter here with me as well.
Yeah, Marcus, thank you. Certainly our goal was to try to reduce your cost without reducing your coverage. And we were able to maintain that or to achieve that with utilizing Liberty Mutual, who was able to increase the umbrella, their total exposure to 10 million on all lines. Your current program had a max of 5 million. Safety National would only take on 5 million, and then you'd have to achieve higher limits by going to additional carriers to get to another 5 million, another 10 million, to get to a total of 15 on your general liability, auto liability, and then 20 on your public officials and your law enforcement legal coverage. By eliminating that extra step, we're able to achieve, I think our total savings is about 175,000 total program over expiring. We also went to the current market to see, okay, let's do a comparison. Where would we be? About a $375,000 difference utilized if you would have renewed with Safety National and the tower, that same tower program, same property program. Again, utilizing Liberty Mutual, our relationship with them, we were able to achieve a higher liability on they're taking on more liability, reducing the cost overall for you. The workers' compensation, the employer's liability portion of that, as Marcus said, we have a straight retention for all employees of 500,000, as opposed to your current program with Safety National, which has 750,000 for police, fire, and paramedics, and 550,000 for all other employees, which means that your exposure, self-insured retention, is capped at 500,000, whereas the police issue could go up to 750. That's where Marcus said there'd be a savings of about 250,000. We believe it's a very strong renewal. It's a very competitive renewal based on the current marketplace for municipalities, not only in Cook County, but statewide. We're seeing generally excess markets have tightened their desire for risk. So we're seeing large municipality in the western suburbs that's having trouble putting together a competitive program at a reasonable price because of it. So I think we're really comfortable and very happy with what we're able to present.
Are there any questions? Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Under property, it's a huge difference. And this is the same, do we have the same coverage that we previously had? Because, I mean, it's like $120,000 difference.
Right, and part of that is the carrier. Let's go to look at the premium there. The $149,000 for the renewal is with the current carrier that you have. Last year they're $183. Part of that decrease is due to a decrease in the coverage exposure, the limit. The $61,000, Liberty Mutual is just offering better rates than that carrier.
That's pretty good.
It's a pretty good savings.
Okay. Now, the other thing that kind of jumps out at me is public officials. Liberty Mutual is saying $8,281, and the proposal with our previous carrier or the previous company would have been $197,000. That's just, it's wild.
It's a big difference, yeah. But you also look at the general liability that Liberty Mutual is charging, their price for the general liability versus what the Safety National did. It gets close. It doesn't quite even out, but when you put in the employment practices liability, you're at about 200,000. You're looking at, I think last year would have been about 214,000 with everything included. So I think it evens out. It's the way that they rate their program. We use the same rating, same exposures that was for all carriers. So it's just how the rating turns out.
And what you were talking about as far as Liberty Mutual putting this up at higher rates, is that why you have nothing where it says excessive liability and 4 columns? Well, one was Kinsale.
We're trying to do the excess.
I see what versus the I see what you're saying. Yeah, the 3 million, 5 million.
Yes.
Yeah, that's because Liberty Mutual is able to give us the 10. Yeah.
So we don't have the excessive liability costs.
Right. Yeah. You see that their premium is 220,000 for the umbrella, whereas in order to get to the 10 million, you'd have to use a combination of the multiple carriers. That would be over. That would be 250,000, I guess, last year,
Okay.
and then this year would be about the same.
Okay. That's and the same thing goes as we go down under subtotal. The same thing with Markham and Kinsale. We're talking about the same things.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And
now, I will note that the one aspect, the one line of coverage that's not included in the proposal is the cyber liability, which renews on December 20th. And that is subject to, I believe that there is they're currently working on putting a multi-factor authentication in place. Once that's in place, we'll be able to finalize terms for those quotes, for that,
Okay.
excuse me.
And I see what you have listed for a brokerage fee, but you didn't list what we paid previously.
That would be the risk management services. We believe that's where that comes in from the last year.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we'll just note that, and that the brokerage fee that we're charging, we're not accepting commission from the carrier.
Right.
So we're not getting paid, we're not double dipping, so to speak. We're not taking money from the carrier and also taking money from.
I appreciate that.
Council, more questions?
I have one more question. I think it was page 3. Now, some parts of this premium can go down. There's some of the properties that were listed if they're no longer insured by us. Right.
Correct. We can review the statement of values to make sure that all the properties that need to be covered are covered, and or remove ones that are needed.
Might I add? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, would that be page 12 you're speaking of, Alderman? Would that be page 12 that you're speaking of?
Yeah.
The list of locations, yes.
Yes,
We're
schedule of
list of
voting.
our properties, we're listing properties that we own.
Okay,
We own right now.
yes, okay.
I cannot find what I want. Okay, yes, so it's page 4. We have 3 secondary employment program is. It's under page 4, on the top under police.
For the police department, secondary employment program.
It's under model policies and procedures.
Yeah, the listing that we have here are basically examples of model policies that come underneath each of those various departments in a municipality insurance program. So many of the carriers identify each of these programs separately, and we have to match those to the programs that are being offered within your existing program. So what you see here are examples of those model policies that have been developed and delivered to similar clients like yourselves.
Okay.
Which are risk.
So in no way it's nothing that saying that if an officer is working secondary employment, that we're liable for his actions.
No.
Okay, that's just one clarification.
Okay.
Right, yeah, and this is just a sampling of services that we can provide, our risk services team can provide to you as part of that fee that we'll charge.
If anything, this could be something that we could against.
So, no, thank you, I appreciate it. I just never seen that before, so it kind of stuck out, I just couldn't remember where I read it.
Yeah, our risk services group is very extensive, very talented, as well as accessible. And that's a part of our broker experience that we're bringing to the city of Markham, is for you guys to have access to that business unit that will be out to do evaluations of your current program, recommendations on how to enhance it, which again changes the imagery or the perception of the city of Markham as we present it to the marketplace going forward.
More questions?
Yes,
Alderman Jones.
yes. Liberal Mutual, you want to have a good relationship with them, rather than with the other agency? Is that They're at risk now.
I'll start with this and then I'll pass it to Walter as well. The current marketplace is very, very hard, very challenging. If you may not know, but the insurance industry has been impacted quite heavily over the last couple of years. If there's, for every $100 that they're spending, that they're charging, they're spending another 105. So the market is hard. Let's start there. So when HUB goes to market with a representation of the city of Markham, we reach out to many of the carriers that we've had relationships with that look similar to yourselves. So we dress you up as best we can to deliver it to them. And then based on that, they respond back with declinations, which means that they decline to quote or to bring a number to the table. And then there are others that accept it. And when they accept it, they ask more questions, supplemental applications. Ms. Fisher went through a number of supplemental applications for us to get to the point of narrowing this bucket of opportunity down to a few carriers, including your incumbent. So that's how Liberty Mutual came out. HUB being a number 5 brokerage house in the world, we have relationships with more than just Liberty Mutual. But we found that in this particular scenario, they were really willing to work with HUB as we are going to embrace your current environment and do the best that we can to help reshape that so that the community can continue on its growth path.
And I'll just add that Liberty Mutual is being very aggressive in the public entity space, wanting to write business, and we're writing more with them. And we're trying to leverage that. We're leveraging that relationship in order to benefit our customers, including City of Markham.
Okay. The next question is the amount. We say that you all don't work on commission. So this is just the flat fee, the 130,000 is just the flat fee for the total. Is that based on percentage? Like I said, I'm calculating like 13%, or is it just a number? How does that number derive? Can it be negotiated?
At this point, we're there. Okay. But prior to this point, Ms. Fisher and Ms. Treasurer Richardson came to us and said, we want full transparency. We want to see what our brokers are making off of this program. So we went to each of our carriers and said, give us a quote. And then after they gave us a quote, we said, now back out the commission that you give to the brokers. And they were like, oh, okay. So sometimes that helps the insured, which would be the city of Markham, because your rates change. Sometimes it changes dramatically. So you average out 10 to 15% is usually what you'll see as being the broker's commission on carriers, from carriers. We've been able to kind of work with them a little bit more aggressively because we understand the situation that the city's in now, and we're trying to do what we can to change that or to move it forward. So I'm gonna pass it to Walter if he has more to add to that narrative.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially as Marcus said, we approach the Liberty Mutual, give us your best quote with commission included. Now let's give us a quote without. And they set it through their rating without having to pay us, and came out with a different number than what the original quote was. As a savings too.
No more questions.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion.
Before you do, well, no, I don't think so. I had some other questions that from a management standpoint, but I think Mr. Chapman probably knows already. So I'll just skip it, go from there. With your in terms of like the third-party administrator is still status quo.
Yeah, I believe that you're on a multi-year contract with them. Yes.
I mean, I just, I think that's really, any other question? Well, here's one question I will ask, that goes with, excuse me, what Alderman Barron mentioned about the property, because that is subject to change. If we ever get through, getting chips for cars, we're gonna wind up with a different fleet. So that'll be kind of similar to the type of property. There'll be some changes there that in terms of how our fleet is. So we'll have to revisit that.
Yeah, and those, any endorsements to the policy will either, depends on if you're adding multiple vehicles and not replacing. It could result in an additional premium. If you're removing the number of vehicles, it could be return premium to you that'd be due to you.
One other question that I'll ask is in terms of, I saw the risk management part is changed, correct? We changed that a little bit. Right, so in terms of how we're handling the safety program, how's that gonna, are you all gonna be?
It's all inclusive. We're gonna be right there with you in that process.
Well, we're holding hands, okay. We'll work with that. Cyber will revisit later. Right,
Yes.
okay. And, there was one other thing about best practices. So we'll be working together and trying to do some things with best practices through risk management, that kind of thing. I know there's some things we can do, best practices, even with finance, right? I mean, all different areas, right?
Correct.
Okay. I've discussed an interest for, to really work on it. Because I don't know how much you had to dress us up. You should have had to dress us too much, because we behaved last year. So the last few years, we've done well. I think we've done well. And it's all about management. So that's why I really wanted to know where you're at with that. So I got with reading your material after the smoke, because I wasn't gonna, I couldn't do it.
That's understandable.
So, but what I read and what I've seen, it seems to answer what I think we need to go on. I like the overall numbers. But, so as long as we got the management piece together, we'll keep driving this down. Well, I know you can only go down so far anyway. At the end of the day, it's going to insurance costs will cost, but we'll do our part so we can make sure that you do your part.
And that's certainly our goal, is to partner with you along with our risk management to improve the way things are done, to present a story that the carriers are going to like. And ignore prior claims. This is where they were, here's where they're going.
Right.
And we're working with them to achieve better results.
So one last question. I don't want to belabor anything, but so if I just were asked, because I read this asked anyway, you know, ask later. So when you look at things that are in reserve, with third-party administrators to us, is that something you take into account? Or what?
Yes, it is. Yes, our claims management team is led by a lawyer, a team of lawyers, quite frankly. And one of them, the lead of that team, was here with our presentation previously. And we will be bringing him in immediately to have the initial claims review for all your open claims, as well as a review of your loss runs from the last 5 years. And then we'll begin to put together a strategy around how to approach those, because you want to get them out of the way.
Yeah.
And so you good last year, but 4 years ago, it's still there. It's a trail, you know. So you want to kind of show or demonstrate to the carrier how you've addressed that particular claim and why it's out of the window and it potentially won't arrive again. You know, that's something simple.
And that's working with the TPA in conjunction with the TPA to review those.
Yeah, okay, no, we're talking what we need to talk, and that's, we don't want yesterday to keep messing with tomorrow. So.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
May I clarify something?
Yes.
So I think the questions in reference to the risk management services, the reason you don't see that itemized now. Previously, we were paid both commission and an additional fee for risk management. So altogether, we were paying about a little shy $200,000 a year for those services, which is why we wanted to full transparency this year to know what are the brokers making off of this service. And so this year, while the 130 is broken out and you don't see another fee for the risk management services, that's because it's all inclusive. They're gonna do the risk management, they're gonna do, the full analysis, includes everything.
My question was, I didn't think it was out of line. I mean, I actually thought it was,
No, it's good.
Price.
It's good. I just didn't, it wasn't.
Yeah, sure, but we'll keep that in mind.
Right, but, that's my past experience, not sitting on the dais, but as a safety director or a safety manager, that's how you undo the issue. So I didn't know where it was either, but as long as we have that, we'll be fine. That's kind of how we all here on the dais are, we're trying to really manage. As a team here, so we're really doing it. So.
And certainly that's why we want to work with you. And we want to get paid for our work. However, we don't want to gouge you. The money can be spent elsewhere to help your community.
Correct.
We humbly appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, Mayor, I think that's awesome, and gentlemen as well, I think that's awesome that we can go back on the past, claims, see exactly where they are sitting at and how we can clarify those and get those cleared up. And then again, I'm pretty sure that will put us in a better standard for the following year. So I appreciate that very much, so.
Yeah.
Very much.
Definitely. Okay, I didn't mean to belabor this, that's something I wanted to know.
I make a motion that we accept the commercial insurance proposal for Hub International.
Let's close the meeting.
Oh, close the meeting to the representatives from Hub.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
I have it, okay, on the very.
All right, I make a motion that we accept the commercial insurance proposal presented by Hub International Midwest Limited for the property and casualty insurance, the term from 12/1/2021 to 12/1/2022.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Barron to accept proposal for commercial insurance for the city of Markham, proposed by HUB for the year indicated, with expiration included up to 12/1/2022. Second by Alderman Hammond. Question? Roll call?
Alderman Barron,
Yes.
Alder Lady Hampton Hauser,
Yes.
Alder Lady McDowell,
Yes.
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
motion carried.
Mayor Powell. I make a motion that allows you to enter into a contract and sign the relevant documents to getting this done.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Barron, second by Alderman Hampton, granting authority for mayor to sign relevant documents to commercial insurance proposal for the city of Markham. Question? Roll call?
Alder Lady Hampton,
Yes.
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
Alderman Barron,
Yes.
Alder Lady McDowell,
Yes.
motion carried.
That is all that I have under my report this evening.
All right, thank you, attorney. Thank you, gentlemen, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving to number 6, public session. Anyone sign?
No.
Public? All right. Let's go to number 7.
Well, Mayor, before we adjourn, can I make a statement?
Sure.
I really want to give accolades out to Christina Fisher and to Ms. Richardson, who diligently see exactly what our city was looking at when it comes to our risk insurance. And I just want to say personally, I thank you so much for working with the city in reference to really diligently getting in there, digging in and getting us a company that we all can feel a little bit more comfortable with. So my kudos out to you, Ms. Christina Fisher, and to Ms. Richardson.
You know what, I'm gonna join you. I will, because I didn't mean any harm when I said I couldn't go through, and again, I had to let it get whittled down after you all see it. I knew I just had some management questions and have to trust, you know, the wisdom of the board as well to decide, but I knew that some of it was based on the treasurer and the finance director and the numbers. We do our part with the management, with the numbers, I have to, they call eyes and listen, so.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree, so. So good
That's
job.
all I have to say, man.
Anybody else? Motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor? Let's go. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll double check for one. But I think since we took some of the COVID restriction out, everything isn't roll call. No, everything was roll call,
Right.
but I don't think it is because we're open.